Okay, imagine this for a second. A battlefield where the life and death decisions, they aren't made by soldiers, but by machines. Sounds like something straight out of science fiction, doesn't it? But this future, it's actually a lot closer than you might think, and it brings some really profound questions with it. Today, we're doing a deep dive into this complex world of autonomous weapons. You often hear them called killer robots, which is frankly a chilling term. Our mission here is to really unpack what these systems are, explore the critical challenges they pose, and these challenges, they dig right into international law, even human morality. And we want to understand why everyone, nations, experts, human rights groups, why they're grappling with this right now so urgently. We've gathered some fascinating source material, stuff that really gets to the heart of it, and hopefully it'll give you kind of shortcut to understanding one of the biggest debates happening today.
Yeah, and what's really striking, I think, is just how fast this is all moving. It's leaped from, theoretical chats in labs to actual military planning and deployment. So this deep dive, it's crucial for grasping not just the tech side, but the huge implications for warfare, for accountability, for what it even means to have human control in these critical moments.
Okay, let's start there. Autonomous weapons, killer robots.
Yeah.
These terms get thrown around. Our sources really stress they're different from, say, a drone someone's flying remotely. Can you maybe walk us through what autonomy really means in this context?
Right, that distinction is absolutely key. So when we talk about autonomous weapon systems, or AWS, we mean military systems. They use AI, artificial intelligence, to independently find, select, and engage targets without direct human intervention.
Without direct human intervention.
Exactly. That's the core difference. This standard drone, there's a pilot somewhere, maybe thousands of miles away, but they make the final call, push the button. These autonomous systems, though, they're designed to operate on their own, process sensor data, identify threats based on programming, make judgments, launch an attack, all in real time.
So they're making tactical decisions by themselves, within certain limits, I assume.
Within the parameters they're given, yes. Sometimes it's called human out-of-the-loop capability, though there are variations like human on the loop where a human can intervene.
Yeah.
But the potential for full autonomy is the focus here.
Okay, so that phrase, without direct human intervention, that's the real kicker. Machines making lethal decisions. And this immediately creates friction, doesn't it? What are the main arguments clashing here?
Oh, absolutely. And our sources lay out these two very opposing viewpoints really clearly. On one side, you have the argument, often from military planners, that this tech could actually reduce casualties, take soldiers off the dangerous front lines, maybe even be more precise, faster than humans, potentially reducing collateral damage. That's a hope anyway.
Safer for your own troops, potentially more precise. Okay.
But then the other side rings loud alarm bells. Many experts, ethicists, human rights groups, they warn about unpredictable, possibly devastating outcomes. Can a machine truly understand context? Discern civilian from combatant in a chaotic situation? Judge proportionality the way international law requires? There's huge concern they can't, leading to tragic mistakes and, violations of the laws of war.
So military advantage versus these really deep ethical and legal worries.
Precisely. It highlights the stakes immediately.
And this leads directly into something our sources flag as deeply unsettling, this idea of the responsibility gap. What are we talking about here? Why is it such a worry?
The responsibility gap.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's maybe one of the thorniest issues. It boils down to this. If an autonomous weapon makes a mistake, targets the wrong thing, causes civilian death, violates rules of engagement, who is held accountable?
Right.
Is it the commander who deployed it? They might say they set the parameters correctly, the machine malfunctioned or faced an unforeseen situation. Is it the programmer who wrote the algorithm? They might argue they couldn't anticipate every single real-world variable.
Or the manufacturer, the political leader who approved the program.
Exactly. There's no clear line under current legal frameworks, especially international humanitarian law. It wasn't designed for non-human actors making lethal choices. Our sources point to analyses suggesting this could create a situation where serious violations of the laws of war occur, but no individual human can actually be found criminally liable.
Wow. So accountability could just evaporate.
That's the fear. This gap becomes incredibly dangerous when civilians are harmed, or when international laws are broken. Think about unintended escalation, too. What if an autonomous system on one side misinterprets an action by another system, or even a human, and retaliates disproportionately, faster than any human could intervene to de-escalate?
A flash war, essentially, driven by algorithms.
It's a possibility that worries strategists. It suggests a potential breakdown of the legal and ethical guardrails that, flawed as they might be, have provided some structure to warfare. We risk creating this vacuum.
A vacuum where accountability vanishes. That's a really chilling thought. And you mentioned earlier, this isn't just theory. Our sources are clear. This is happening now. How immediate is this arms race?
Oh, it's very much a present-day reality,
Yeah.
not some far-off sci-fi scenario. Global military budgets are pouring billions into AI and autonomous systems. The big players are all involved. The US, China, Russia, Israel, the UK, others. They're actively developing and, in some cases, deploying systems with increasing levels of autonomy.
So we're talking AI-powered drones, tanks, naval systems.
Yes, exactly. AI-driven surveillance, targeting systems, logistical support, cyber warfare tools, and increasingly, weapon systems designed to operate with less and less human oversight. It's a classic arms race dynamic, really. Each nation feels pressured to keep up, fearing they'll be left strategically vulnerable if they don't invest in this tech.
And the tech itself is just getting better and better, faster and faster. Our sources warn that the window where humans are definitively required for lethal decisions might be closing.
That's the trajectory, yes. The capabilities are advancing exponentially. AI pattern recognition, decision-making speed, it's improving constantly. And the warnings from experts are stark. If we don't establish clear international rules, ethical guidelines, and mechanisms for control very soon, we could genuinely face a future where wars escalate algorithmically, faster than human diplomats or even commanders can manage.
A future where accountability is effectively gone because no one can trace it back and conflicts spiral out of control.
It becomes almost impossible to enforce accountability in that scenario. And it forces us to ask, can human judgment, with its nuance, its ethics, its deliberation, can it even keep pace? Or are we building systems that will inevitably outpace our ability to control them responsibly?
Okay, so given these huge, frankly terrifying concerns, what's the pushback? Is anyone trying to pump the brakes? Are there serious calls for regulation?
Yes, definitely. There's a very active global conversation and significant pushback. Human rights organizations like Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch, the Campaign to Stop Killer Robots Coalition, they've been incredibly vocal. And numerous governments, particularly smaller and middle powers, have joined the call for new international law, maybe a treaty to regulate or even ban fully autonomous weapons.
So efforts are underway, talks are happening.
Yes, discussions have been ongoing for years within the framework of the United Nations Convention on Certain Conventional Weapons, the CCW, in Geneva, trying to find common ground, define terms, explore possible rules.
But I sense a but coming. It's not exactly smooth sailing, is it? Our sources mention quite a bit of resistance.
No, it's definitely not smooth sailing. That's the major hurdle. The nations leading the development, primarily the major military powers we mentioned earlier, are generally reluctant to agree to legally binding restrictions.
Why? Just the strategic advantage argument again.
Largely, yes. There's a strong belief that these technologies are essential for future military competitiveness and national security. They don't want to constrain their own innovation while potential adversaries push ahead. So reaching a consensus that would lead to a meaningful treaty, one that actually restricts development and deployment, is proving incredibly difficult. There's a fundamental tension between the push for regulation and the perceived imperatives of military power.
So what are the core arguments from those pushing hard for regulation? What are they demanding?
They basically make three key points, which echo the concerns we've discussed. First and foremost, human judgment must stay central to any decision to use lethal force. They argue that only humans possess the capacity for moral reasoning, compassion, and the understanding of complex contexts needed for such life and death decisions. An algorithm can calculate, but it can't truly judge in a human sense.
Keep the human in the loop, fundamentally. What's the second point?
Second, they insist on robust legal frameworks to ensure accountability. If these weapons are deployed, even with restrictions, there must be clear rules about who is responsible if things go wrong. We need to close that responsibility gap we talked about, not just accept it.
Maintain the rule of law, essentially.
Exactly. And third, related to the first point, is the establishment of clear ethical guidelines, preventing a slide towards machines making completely unregulated life and death choices. They argue we need to draw ethical red lines now.
Which brings us beyond the legal and strategic stuff to, well, the really deep moral question, doesn't it? Our sources touch on this too.
They do, and it's perhaps the most profound challenge here. It asks the fundamental question: should machines ever be given the authority to decide to kill a human being?
Right.
Delegating that power, the argument goes, fundamentally dehumanizes warfare. It risks turning lethal violence into a purely computational process, stripping away the gravity, the human cost, the moral weight.
And potentially lowering the barrier to starting conflicts.
That's a major concern. If you remove your own soldiers from harm's way and decisions are made faster, perhaps with less deliberation, does it make going to war seem easier, less costly in human terms, at least for the side deploying the machines? It challenges our whole understanding of humanity's role in conflict and what moral lines we are or aren't willing to cross for perceived efficiency or advantage.
So, quite a journey we've taken here. We've looked at what autonomous weapons actually are, this deeply worrying responsibility gap, the very real arms race happening now, and these urgent calls for rules that are struggling against military interests. It's crystal clear this isn't just some academic debate anymore. It's unfolding right now with massive implications.
Absolutely. As these weapons shift from concept to reality, that responsibility gap looms as, potentially, one of the biggest ethical and legal crises in modern warfare. Nations really are at a crossroads. They can work together now, try to establish clear boundaries, meaningful human control, strong ethical frameworks, or they can continue down the current path and risk stumbling into a future where accountability disappears into algorithms and conflict becomes dangerously unpredictable. The choice has huge consequences.
So as you think about everything we've discussed today, maybe reflect on what it really means. For accountability, yes, but also for the value we place on human decision-making, especially in life or death situations. What kind of future are we actually building if we let machines take the reins on the power to kill without confronting these incredibly difficult questions head-on right now?